everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Keri Doan, the voice behind Waiting on West, where she helps business owners cut through the noise, simplify their strategy, and build visibility without burning out. With over 15 years of experience supporting businesses, Keri focuses on helping people find their voice, create aligned system, and grow in a way that actually fits their life. Keri, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
All right, okay. So I want us to start from the beginning, right? Doing everything right. So many people feel like they are doing all the right things, but still not seeing results. Why do you think that happens?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think it's even more prevalent now because we have so much information being fed to us all day long, even if we're just on casual time on social media, scrolling, or if we're researching to grow our business. There's so many resources being given to us all the time. And so immediately it becomes this information overload. And I think like a comparison struggle, right? Where you're like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, right? It's all of this weight being put on us. And it's heavier because it's so important to you that your business grows, right? Like that is something that you kind of, even though you aren't your business, you kind of tie your self-worth to it. And so when you feel like your business isn't doing well, you kind of feel that yourself, right? And so we're kind of seeing that more and more recently, where people are feeling the pressure of comparing themselves to others, doing and trying every single thing that's being put onto us. And then none of them really work because they're not made for us, right? Everyone's selling the thing that worked the best for them, but that might not be your perfect path.
Right. Wow. Okay. So yeah, like you said, so much information are being fed to us. So that means like there's the noise problem, right? So what does, cutting through the noise actually look like in today's online space?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the hardest thing to do is to, and this is the process that I use with my clients, where we step back and we kind of go, okay, which of the processes out there, which of the things that you've learned about actually stand out the most to you? And then really dialing back and going, why are you drawn to that? What aspects of it work for you and which ones don't? And really being honest with yourself about what you have the capacity for, what you're actually interested in doing. A lot of us are kind of forcing ourselves to post on LinkedIn. If you don't enjoy posting on LinkedIn, maybe you shouldn't do it, right? It's kind of deciding what's a priority for you and then allowing yourself to let go of the things that aren't. And that may change, right? Later on down the road, you might go, you know what? Now it's really important for me to post on LinkedIn, and you might start to do it more. But you can't keep the expectation that you can do everything and have the capacity for everything forever, right? So you really have to get honest with yourself about what you care about, what you have time for, and what can wait.
Hmm. All right. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for that one, actually. Right. So yeah, talking about, burnout and business. You've experienced burnout yourself, actually. So what were the like early signs you ignored?
Mm. Oh man. It's funny. I I for years and years and years there was these things happening that I didn't see at all. I had no idea. And then a couple years ago my father passed away, and like when you have a big moment like that in your life, you really reflect on things, right? And I
Mm,
remember a client, like they said, "Oh, it was the day I found out." I said, "Hey, just so you know, I just need to step away for a little bit dealing with my dad passing, right?" And they said,
mm,
okay, well, I need this, report. I need this thing. And I remember thinking, that's not really that important. Like, you don't actually need it right now. And just having that kind of drawback perspective, all of a sudden, all of these other things that had been happening over the years, they start rushing back to you, and you start to think about, just the kind of sense of urgency that other people put on you, where,
mm,
the burnout is like, that report wasn't urgent. That report's actually due in 3 weeks. You know what I mean? These little things where you're being asked things and you do it because you want to perform well, you want to do well in your job, you want to grow your business. Instead of again just pulling back and kind of looking and going, that's not a priority. Here's when it will be available for you, right? And kind of setting those boundaries. I didn't know back then, right? And so I absolutely drove myself into the ground. And I think back now to like taking my kids on a holiday and being sitting on the side of the road on the curb trying to do work because I had to get it done because it was an absolute priority instead of being in the moment with my kids. And so those things all of a sudden they all come floating back to you and you realize none of that was important. I don't work in the emergency room. I'm not that important in anyone's business.
Oh wow. It's the truth, but it's a bitter truth actually that people don't understand. That they don't know, like you're not that important in anybody's business. You could be replaced so easily if anything happens to you. So it's very important to always, put yourself first and always take care of yourself because replacement is very easy, especially in today's world, actually. So thank you for that.
100%.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. And talking about like unlearning the hustle. You mentioned you now help people unlearn certain habits. So what are the biggest ones that you help actually?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that one thing that we're, always kind of sold the idea of is that you have to hustle to make your business grow. And of course, that's true, but it's all about intentional hustle, right? It's periods of like, you know what, I really want to get my podcast out by May 1st. Okay, the next month is going to be a little crazy while I do that, but not having this lifelong hustle mode 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that may work for some people, and I'm happy for them. But in my work and what I've seen with all of the businesses that are trying to grow, but also have a family and have a personal life and have time on their own, is that hustle, hustle, hustle is not sustainable. And so we kind of look at your whole picture of your business, where you want to go, and the steps you need to take to get there sustainably, slowly over time instead of trying to rush and kind of like we were saying earlier, right? Like thinking that everything is a priority, thinking that everything needs to be done tomorrow. It's not kind to yourself. It's not good for your heart. You need to really lay out and realistically look at, we don't know if we get sick tomorrow, right? And you need to be off for a few days. Your business needs to be able to hold space for you to do that without everything falling apart.
Mm. Oh, wow, wow. Okay. So yeah, thank you for that one, actually, which it brings me to, finding your voice, right? So what does it
Mhm.
really mean to find your voice, especially in businesses?
Yeah. Yeah, it's again, it's about like the information that's given to us right now. And you kind of see, especially on social media, and all businesses need to be showing up somehow online these days, right? So we see other businesses that are posting here, advertising there, and we kind of try to emulate what they're doing, right? We try and kind of copy their success format that's working for them. And what I'm noticing is that it immediately makes things more difficult for the business owner because they can't get into that headspace to be that person. And so finding your voice is all about the authenticity of yourself. And again, you're not your business, but your business flows through you. You are the face of your business. And so allowing yourself to find your voice, come back to how you speak, how someone's going to actually receive you when they go on your podcast or when they're in a session with you, if you're a one-on-one client, being true to how you sound and how you speak when you meet with your customer and then taking that and putting that into your online voice. And it's not unprofessional. If anything, it's probably more professional because it's exactly what they're going to get when they come over to meet you. But it immediately makes your content easier when you can tap into that authenticity and find your true voice. And then when everything that you post on your social platforms, on LinkedIn, wherever you're sharing things, immediately becomes easier to say because you're just staying true to yourself and kind of finding your voice.
All right, wow, okay. So it's about, authenticity of yourself, right? Instead of trying to emulate what other business owner do or does, rather you just create what works for you, right? Do what you just do you, right?
Yeah,
That way
yeah.
you can you reflect who you are to your customers actually, and it makes business even easier, and then there would be trust because now your customers know, okay, this is who I'm dealing with, this is what I'm expecting. instead of giving, them a different vibe entirely, and then they're seeing something else. So it's just good to, be authentic and, like you said, find your voice. Uh,
Yeah.
exactly. So thank you so much for that one, right? And I want us to talk about, systems that, fit your life. So what does an aligned system look like compared to a typical growth strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of the growth strategies that we're seeing being implemented or kind of sold right now to businesses, and I'm going to say specifically to growing businesses. So, businesses that maybe have 1 to 5 employees or in their first years of their business. And they're putting in systems that are maybe made for a business that is in their 10th year or they're at their, 7 figures, right? They are far beyond where our growing businesses are right now in the world. And that's great. And it's great to take information from that. But again, it's operating at a level with a team that maybe they've got 20, 50, 100 employees, and these
Mm,
growing businesses have only a small team or are just one person. They don't have the systems to sustain that operation. And
mm,
so these kind of bigger systems that we're seeing put in place feel kind of alienating, right? They're not comfortable for growing businesses to fit into. And so when we work on creating a system that's custom to you, again, it pulls in all of the aspects of the things that you know you can do and that you know will help you
mm,
reach your next milestone or your next goal, but that there are also things that you can sustain. And the goal would always be minimum to be working 2 weeks ahead of yourself. It depends on the industry, but even further, right? Like when I work with my clients, they're scheduling their content out until the end of June right now, right? So we're looking as far ahead as we can while still respecting the launches and the things that are happening within your business. But it also means that if they suddenly need to take a week off or they go on vacation for 2 weeks, absolutely nothing is affected in their business because we've created a system that fits what they're working towards, but is sustainable.
all right. Wow. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for, such a real grounding conversation, especially, for anyone feeling overwhelmed trying to grow their business. All right. And talking about starting over, as a military spouse, you've had to rebuild multiple times. So how did that shape your approach to business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was part of the factor of me finding a business or creating a business to begin with, because I remember being like 18 years old. My husband and I had been together for 20 years. And I remember being like 18 and going to a new town where a base was, applying for jobs. And they would immediately say, "Nope, we don't hire people that are here for military because you're just going to leave," right? And
Mm,
so I was trying to find, like a cashier job, a grocery store, like anything that would hire me. And I was just thinking, this doesn't fulfill me. This doesn't help me serve others, which is what feel like I'm
mm,
born to do, right? That's what I love. So immediately I had to always kind of be thinking out of the box as far as what could be possible for me. And then anytime that you start to get settled, things kind of shift again and you go to a new posting or your spouse deploys or, any of those things that happens. And I think that that's really where I've grounded in my value of working ahead, right? Always knowing that there could be a curveball in the road. And so we're staying planning ahead a little bit. And so that kind of allowed me to get a pullback view of the bigger picture of what we're working towards in our own businesses now, but also major, major adaptability, right? So anytime that some sort of sudden shift comes in a business, immediately pausing and kind of looking and going, okay, what is the actual problem here? What do we need to deal with right now? You know what I mean? Because every day as a military spouse, there could be any type of curveball thrown your way. And so
mm,
I always stay a little bit prepared for anything to happen. And then honestly, my biggest takeaway, and I would say this for my spouse and for my kids, as a family, the biggest thing we've taken away is gratitude. So always kind of looking at a situation, even if it's the hardest day, and kind of trying to find something to be grateful for. I feel like that being pulled into life as a business owner has actually served me really, really well. It allows me to stay as glass half full as I can. Some days are harder than others. But really having that grounded perspective of life and, the time that we have together, understanding that my time with my business is focused, it is working on my business, but then when I step away, my time is very focused outside of work as well. So it really, really impacted. And any time that it's been hard, I'm still grateful for it.
Right. Wow. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for that one. And my podcast, right, is for young adults who are, seeking to gain clarity. And some of these young adults are even, business owners. And I needed to give a message to someone out there. Let's say someone feels stuck or overwhelmed right now. What is the first thing they should, simplify to make things easier for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such an exciting time, right? When you're in that time in your life where you get to think about what's to come, what you're working towards. It's so exciting. I'm excited for anyone that's listening right now to hear this podcast and kind of listen through. I was really excited when I listened through to all of the episodes that you've shared, because there is so many great nuggets in there. If I was to speak to anyone, honestly, it's the ability to pull back from your situation and look at the bigger picture, look at where you want to be in 3 years, in 5 years, and kind of think about what you can do right now that is a small step, break it down into the tiniest steps that you can to reach that goal. So again, having that really big pulled back view with your future goal in mind, even if it's like, hey, I want to run 5 kilometers. Really give yourself space to do it. Don't expect anything to happen tonight or tomorrow, right? You have to give yourself space for life to happen, for you to experience and feel grateful for the whole experience that you're going through, and not rush it. There's too much information being fed to us right now. All the internet is doing is giving us information. Give yourself space and remember that what you're seeing online is not real. Live your own journey and enjoy every minute.
All right. Well, thank you for that clear message, right? That was clear and, deeply, deeply insightful. And I really hope my listeners would, listen to this and take out the very important notes from what you said. Because personally, I've learned a lot, right? I'm looking to, change a little. In fact, I'm looking to change a few things about myself because this just shifted my perspective to a whole new one. Exactly. So, yeah, thank you so much. And this brings us to the final podcast. The final segment of my podcast is called the Rapid Fire segment. All right. So, starting now, right? Growth is,
Fun.
okay. All right. Burnout, burnout feels like,
Mm. In more than one word, it's a weight on you that can't be lifted by taking a nap.
Hmm, okay. All right. And yeah, clarity brings
Peace.
peace. Okay. Your voice is,
Everything.
wow. Success means,
I guess that varies on the person, but I think freedom, time, freedom.
all right. Okay. Time freedom. And yes, finally, you are,
Perfect.
oh, okay. All right. That was amazing, actually. You did well. All right. So thank you so much, Kerry. And where can listeners get to know more about you and what you do?
So you can find me on my website at waitingonwest.com or on social media at Waiting on West.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Kerry. And to my listeners, thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, make sure to share to someone you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Thank you, Kerry. Do have a wonderful day.